Okay, before I go into the details, actually, I just want to share some key messages. I think the first one is that vaccination is still the first line of defense. So in order to protect your workers and to ensure that they can continue to go to work, I think vaccination is still very important and it's the first line of defense. I do understand that for the marine companies, right, we have almost 100% vaccination rate. But of course, we do have new workers joining us, so we must continue to encourage them to be vaccinated, right? And also we have booster shots which are coming online. Yeah, so we need to continue to encourage our workers to go for the booster shots. Okay, point number 2 is a very important point. So moving ahead as we progress towards the endemic stage, right? The companies are expected to play a greater role in managing the COVID, the C+ cases as well as the AG+ cases at the work sites. SMMs, safe management measures, are still very important. Okay, so things like RRT compliance rate, zoning, worksite organization, workforce organization, disinfection and ventilation. So all these SMM measures are still important, although the incident management will be simplified as we move forward. Okay, I think the third point is also covered in one of the advisory that we sent out. Basically, ART is going to be the test methodology moving forward. Okay, so all the RRT, the PCR RRT will be replaced with ART. Okay, and only PCR will be reserved for those asymptomatic cases. Okay, so from this strategy, you can see that moving ahead, right, the number of C+ cases is going to drop drastically. Okay, because only symptomatic cases will go to the clinics to take a PCR test, right? And we know that 97 to 98% of the C+ cases are asymptomatic, right? So later on, you'll see that actually protocol 2, which is the AG+ protocol, becomes more important as we move forward, right? Because C+ cases and protocol 3, which is the close context of the C+ cases, will see a drop, yeah, because they will be not tested using PCR testing. Okay, so as mentioned, PCR testing will be reserved for symptomatic individuals. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, protocol 1. So if you're feeling unwell and symptomatic, of course, you will go to a clinic. And most likely, you'll be asked to take a PCR test. So if you are positive, you will need to be isolated. Okay, if you are fully vaccinated, as shown on the left column, right? If you are fully vaccinated, you isolate for 10 days. If you are partially or unvaccinated, you isolate for 14 days. Okay, there's no exit test. So it is a time-based exit. Okay, so after 10 days, if you are fully vaccinated, you basically exit from the protocol 1. So of course, during this period, you will have access to telemedicine and home recovery buddy. Okay, so the details are shown in the slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so as mentioned, if you have no symptoms, okay, but through the routine testing, you are tested positive using the ART. So the protocol is self-isolate at home for 72 hours. Okay, thereafter, you can take an ART test. So if you are ART negative, you can resume with your activities. But if you are still ART positive, you wait at least 24 hours and then take another ART test. Okay, so this cycle will continue until day 10. But whenever you test negative, you can actually resume your activities. Okay, I have stated on the right column the protocols for the dorm workers. Okay, so basically for the dorm workers, right, the difference between those staying outside and the dorm workers is 0.345 onwards. So basically, if you are not symptomatic, you're vaccinated, you'll be going to a dorm recovery facility. Okay, the testing will only be on day 4 and day 7. Okay, basically because the dorms do not have so much resources to conduct ART testing every day. Okay, so you either exit at day 4 when you test AG negative, or you have to wait till day 7 for the next test. And then, of course, you'll be discharged by day 10. Okay, so you can see from the left side and the right side, what's the difference is that those non-dorm workers, after the 72 hours, right, you can take a test every 24 hours. So whenever you're negative, for example, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, right, you can actually exit the isolation. Whereas for the dorm workers, their testing is fixed at day 1, 4, and 7. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so protocol 3 basically refers to close context of C+ cases. So they will be issued a health risk warning, HRW, by MOH lah. Of course, how they issue this will be based on your TT token data as well as your SE entry data lah. Okay, so if you are given a HRW, you can go to the vending machine to go and draw your ART kits. Okay, so your day 1, you must take a ART, and you are legally required to submit the results at the link stated there, g.gov.sg/AG submit. Okay. Okay, so if you are tested negative, actually you can resume activities already. Okay, but the requirement is still for you to take a ART test every day from day 2 to day 7. Okay, so the focus has shifted to personal responsibility lah. So if you are given a HRW, okay, although you day 1 you tested negative, right? Subsequent days you must make sure that you tested negative before you can interact with other people. Okay, so we still need to continue this regime for 7 days. Okay, so on the right hand side is basically what we encourage the people to do lah. Okay, so on the left is basically the baseline protocol. So on the right is we are saying that workers who have been in close contact with a C+ case, okay, they might be working in the same work zones as the C+ case, but they have not received a health risk warning. Okay, so basically the company is encouraged to conduct some testing to ensure that the workers at your work site are COVID safe. So you can actually do a day 1, day 4, day 7 ART, which is encouraged. Okay. Or you can actually do a testing every day, similar to the protocol 3. Yep. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an example of a SMS script for HRW. You should be sent through SMS to those close contacts of the C+ cases. Okay, next please. Okay, so having said all this, so we have also updated our incident response and management plan. As I mentioned, the baseline protocol, we are adhering to what MOH states. Okay, so in terms of the legal requirements, we are aligned to MOH. Of course, there are certain things that we encourage the work sites to do, right? To have added assurance that the workers coming into your work sites are COVID, they do not have COVID. Okay, so basically within 6 hours, the actions needed are basically the same. Whether you are AG plus or C plus, of course, the first thing you do, you want to isolate the infected workers. Of course, C plus will go back to accommodation, self-isolate according to protocol 1. AG plus will self-isolate and adhere to protocol 2, right? For C+ cases, it's mandatory to disinfect the work areas. Okay, whereas for AG+ cases, it's encouraged to disinfect the affected work areas. But of course, you can also do it together with your daily cleaning regime to make sure that the infected work zones are disinfected. Okay, of course, you still need to inform EDB of AG+ and C+ cases at your work sites for us to keep an oversight of all the C+ and AG+ cases at the work sites. Okay, so within 24 hours, as mentioned, some of the things that you need to submit to us, whether it's a C+ or AG+, of course, you need to know the close context, right, of AG+ and C+. and also all the areas that the AG plus and C plus had been to lah. Okay, in terms of compliance report, actually it is only needed when a C plus case is detected. Okay, for AG plus cases, you just need to tell us the nominal row and basically try to map up where the AG plus case has been to in the last 7 days. Okay. Later I'll also share the updated risk assessment metrics. We are still using this. Basically, the parameters are all still there. We will use them to assess the risk of worksite transmission. Okay. Yeah, so MOH is also watching all the cluster cases, which is defined as 10 or more C plus cases over 3 consecutive days, N or more 5 or more work zones are affected. Okay, so we are still adhering to the MOH guidelines. So EDB will also be shifting our focus and attention to monitor those large clusters lah. Yeah. Okay, so of course this monitoring will cover over the next 30 days. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I think everyone should be familiar with this compliance report. Basically, this report is only required for C plus case. There's no change. The only difference is the portion highlighted in yellow. Okay, because the cluster is now defined as 10 or more cases over 3 consecutive days, right, by MOH. So we are encouraging the companies to have a heat map lah. If you have more and more C plus cases at your work site, you should map out all the areas that the workers have been over the last 7 days lah. So from the heat map, right, you probably can infer certain information now whether there's a potential of any areas having some worksite transmission. Okay, next please. Okay, yeah, I mentioned this now. Okay, this current definition of large cluster. Okay, this is in line with MOH lah. So you do see in the newspapers that every day, sometimes they do list down, right, which are the clusters that they are monitoring lah, right? So for example, the nursing homes have a breakout in C plus cases, right? So like yesterday, they will mention like some of the nursing homes, they are keeping a close tab off lah. So even dormitories and even work sites, if they think that the large cluster is brewing over there, it will end up in the MOH listing. Okay. So similarly, we are also trying to work with the companies to ensure that there's no widespread C plus transmission at the work sites lah. Of course, we do understand that actually most of the cases now belongs to the dorms. So we still need to look at the data and decipher that, okay, of how many cases you might have at the work sites, whether they are mostly from the work site or the majority are from the dorms. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I think this one is also familiar because it's inside the restart criteria. It's just that we have updated some of the parameters. So for example, column 2, right, the total number of workers in the work site. So now low risk is less than 500 lah. Okay, so we have updated some of the figures. Even the work group cohort size, we have updated the numbers. And if you look at the last 2 columns, you will see that the number of C plus cases and the number of affected work zones lah. Okay, so for high is 10 or more C plus cases, less than 5 work zones affected. But very high is 10 or more C plus cases over 3 consecutive days, and 5 or more work zones affected. Okay, so we are watching the high and very high worksite transmission. Okay, next please. Okay, this is an example of a heat map. As you can see, it's a shipyard lah. So basically, if you look at the legend below, so the company has mapped out for every C plus case, which is the bottom left-hand corner, right? All the case number and the color coding, right? So the legend, they even map out where are their work zones, where are the common amenities like toilets, dining areas, bicycle locations, even smoking points lah. Okay, so hopefully from this heat map, we can infer we can look at this heat map and infer certain things, whether there's any area there's a potential for widespread C+, and we can take some mitigating actions. Okay. I think that's the last slide I have. Yeah. Okay, so I've come to the end of my short presentation. I think Kun Wei has joined us already, right? So we open up the floor for questions. So
Okay.
as thank you.
Sorry. Anyways, thank you so much, Johnny. There are already some questions that have already been shared through our Slido link. Maybe I'll just read out the questions and maybe see if you or Kunmi want to address them.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so maybe this one from Darren first, Darren Chua. Since we are moving to ART regime, will the ship coming into shipyard be put on the same regime?
Yes. You're talking about ships coming into shipyards, right? So basically, the pre-departure test and the on-arrival test will still be PCR, but the subsequent 3, 5, and 10, right? Day 10 will be changed to ART. Okay, so as much as possible, we are trying to align the testing using ART, Okay, because I think we understand the logic, because the Delta variant, which is the almost 100%, right? The people catching the COVID-19 virus now has a much higher viral load. So actually ART testing is able to pick up quite accurately as to whether you have this infected with this Delta variant. Yeah. So
Okay.
so yes, there will be a change. Yeah, the day 3, 3, 5, and 10 will be changed to ART. But on arrival test is still a PCR. Yeah.
Thanks, Johnny. Actually, I'd like to also to the next question that is actually quite on the 7 day cycle, right? So there's a question that asks, why not keep to the 7 day cycle, 2 tests per week? So like the 3 days cycle does not. I'm assuming the question lies in the number of days in a week, because you need to rotate. Could be Tuesday, could be Wednesday, could be Tuesday, could be Wednesday, depending on the 3 days. Is there a specific reason why we are keeping?
Okay, I think the question is because currently the marine sector is on a 7 days PCR testing, right? So when we move on to a FET regime, the requirement is every 3 days you take a ART. Okay, the reason is because MOH has done a study, right? Yeah, okay. So basically the MOH has done a study and says that if you want to use ART to replace PCR, right, the frequency has to be doubled in order to achieve the same efficacy as the PCR testing. So that's why from a 7 days PCR, when we shift to a ART regime, right, we are doing it every 3 days. So it's basically double the frequency of a PCR. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. Okay, Kunwei. Yeah.
Yeah. In addition, right now the marine, they are actually doing day 3 ART and day 7 PCR, right? So the net effect is still the same. Test twice a week. It's just that the day 7 PCR will be replaced with ART. Just to take note is every 3 days one ART. Because the migrant workers will be placed on a what they call a dynamic scheduling logic, that they will schedule the next ART from the last ART result that's been submitted. So once that happens, every 3 days, the migrant worker is expected to do the ART result, which will be reminded in the FW Mum Care. And that's how they upload the results. After they done the test, they scan the supervisor QR code, they upload it to FW Mum Care, and which then they will schedule the next ART 3 days later. Okay, so that's for migrant worker. For SCPR, they will be you have to check through their health hub. So that's something where just need to take note of lah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Kunwei.
Yep.
Okay, the next question is, does a recovered AG positive, right, get any discharge memo upon recovery?
No. AG discharge memo at this moment is only given for C+. So all AG plus recovered person per se is not exempted from RRT. There's no discharge memo at this moment. Okay, even though there's some discussion, but just take it that there is no discharge memo for the moment. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you, Kunwei. We see this question by Colin Ng. Will the entry into shipyard still restricted to personnel who completed 2 ART per week since RRT PCR is removed? Let me just see if I can share the screen. Sorry, Kunwei.
And entering into a production area of a shipyard has always been the need to be on RRT. In fact, it will be, they just need to adhere to the RRT regime, whatever is the prevailing test regime. So for now, yes, test twice ART, they will then get the ability to go in. So SCPR, those are the ones that the site will need to make sure that they have a relevant ART done over the every 3 days. For the visitors or the ad hoc contractors entering your own shipyards, you can consider turning on the vaccinated differentiating settings / pre-event testing option in SE BIS app to scan the visitors whether they have a valid ART test that was done in the last 24 hours. ART or PCR test done in the last 24 hours. Why I say PCR is because at this moment during this transition period, there are still some people who are taking PCR. So the SE BIS app, when they are checking in the visitors, they will check for 2 tests done in the last 24 hours, which is either a ART or a PCR. So the sites can use that to check them in and to protect your workers from all these roving contractors or visitors that's coming into your site.
Thank you, Kunwei. I think this next question by Darren Chua has already been addressed by Kunwei. Thank you so much. But I think the question is ART within how many hours?
What do you mean by ART within how many hours?
So like since there's no more RT-PCR, what is the requirement for visitors to visit production area in shipyard?
Within the past 24 hours, as mentioned. Yeah. You can even do it on the spot. The ART results is valid for 24 hours. Okay, so the validity of the ART should last till they complete entering or exit the shipyard. From the point they enter the production areas till the point they exit the shipyard.
Okay, thanks, Kunwei. This next question is, what happens if ART still tests positive on day 10?
It will never happen.
Or at the time of exit?
It will never happen because there's no test on day 10.
Okay.
So practically, it's a time-based discharge. By the time it's day 10, the person will just exit. It's just like our NEC plus personnel right now. There are no tests at all. Any person who is C plus, they just self-isolate for 10 days for the vaccinated, self-isolate for 14 days for the unvaccinated. At day 10, their health hub code or the TT app will change to green, that they are cleared. That there is automatic via MOH. Yeah, but MOH will monitor that. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, ART, can ART be self-swab? It has to be employer supervised self-swab, and the supervisor must be trained by, this is what MOH required right now, is it must be trained by the HMI agency, which is the appointed agency to train all the trained supervisors. Yeah. Okay. Will the shipyards move? Yes. So shipyards will move to this ART regime from 1st of November onwards. So from 1st of November onwards, all the shipyards employees will embark on a 3 days FET RRT. FET, fast and easy testing, RRT. If not, just remember FETRT is ART only. Yeah.
So this one about the third-party security personnel at the shipyard, because I think previously they were on the 14 days, right?
Yeah. Have they need to comply with every? Okay. So right now, this transition period is a transition period. The transition may not be as smooth as we wanted it to be. There are some teething issues. So for this security personnel, okay. So the end of the day, right? What we need to make sure of is that the workers who are coming through the gates are not infected. So for security personnel, you can put them on a 7 days ART. But if they are interacting with a lot of the shipyard workers, then I will suggest they do every 3 days ART lah. Okay, right? So that's my suggestion lah. Okay, because they're interacting with a lot of migrant. I mean, through the marine workers who are on a 3 days ART regime. So whoever you mix around with should do a matching test regime. But if the security guard is like standing more than 2 meters away, not interacting, not talking to the person, next to each other, then you can consider doing the 7 days ART instead. Because ultimately, the companies need to decide the risk level, the risk profile of the workers. Okay? Ken, if the non-dom worker do not come to work site, still need 3 days. No, I'll be surprised your non-dom worker can work. If it's the admin workers, the back end workers, they are not actually subjected to FETRT. So by right, no need to do lah. But if you have such workers, basically you want the ART. Why? Because you want to clear them of any infection that's related to work site, right? So that's why we are embarking them on the RRT regime lah. Yeah. Can I confirm will be day 3? Yeah. So the 3 days ART is auto scheduled. So which means once they do, let's say today is on the 18th, right? On the 21st, 19, 20, 21st, they'll be triggered to do another ART in the FW Mum Care. In the SCPR, they will have to remember. So therefore, a company should try to set a day where it's called ART day. Then everybody, or from the non-dom workers, non-migrant worker, because migrant worker or FW Mum Care, which will trigger them. Last time we have the SRS, they will trigger, but now ART is all self-help in a sense. So companies do schedule a day which is ART, then you all do your employer supervised self-swab virtually, which we have circulated the we have circulated the employer supervised self-swab virtual protocol some time back. You all can use that and then use either Zoom call, WhatsApp call, Weixin call, whatever not call, right? To make sure that the person has done it properly lah. Now these days, shipyards have mandated ART since 10th of August. So we shouldn't have any workers not familiar with doing ART at this point in time. We have prepared all the shipyards to do ART by now. Okay, so if any of the new onboarders come in, don't know how to do ART, there are more than ample self-swab communications, videos, PDFs on how to do a self-swab already. Okay, I hope that answers. Okay, it's a 3-day FETRRT, not a 7-day cycle. Okay, so I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so there's this question: can we request early discharge memo for those who receive IO whenever they are ART tested negative?
Whoever has received an IO from MOH, they are to adhere to the IO. If you are referring IO as isolation order.
Yeah.
Okay, so follow whatever it is, MOH orders supersede all other protocol. You just follow the SMS what has been told to you to do.
Thanks for that clarification.
Okay. If there is no exit swap needed, how can we be sure that C+ no longer pose a threat? Okay, so this is a very good question. This is because based on the studies, typically for Delta variant, a person should recover by this from roughly day 7 to 10. So this is based on MOH studies. If the company feel that the C+ is still not you want to be sure, you can do one ART lah on your own. But this MOH says that they are okay. So there is no stopping companies doing your precautionary measures. It's just like example, protocol 2, protocol 3, which is the HRW. So HRW theoretically, technically is you have to do a ART every day of the first 7 days, right? Before they come to work. So the question then comes is that, no question, but the fact is that a Delta variant, the mean incubation periods is 4 days or less. So if it's 4 days or less, when the person tests on day 1, whether you and is AG negative, whether the company wants the person to return to work or not, it is up to the company's decision and risk level. That's why we recommended in our slide is that they are if any of these workers who are known to work close to a C+ or a AG+, you can consider to let them return only after day 4 ART is negative. Okay, but those who are issued HRW, they definitely need to do PET every day, ART every day before they're leaving their house. If they're not leaving their house, no need to do any ART. Okay, and day 1 ART needs to upload into the go.gov.sg/AG submit. Other than that, day 2 to day 7 ART results no need to upload. Okay, I hope that answers your question. If the last of the and the port will be hazard, the entry to a will be hazard. No. So those on FET RRT, you all don't need to use the SE BSAP to scan. Yeah. So we are now talking about those ad hoc visitors, roving contractors whom the shipyards are not familiar with, that they are always coming to your site. So this is something where you can turn on the SE BSAP option for vaccinated differentiated settings or the PET to check in your workers who are not familiar with your site, okay, to you. So the entry to a port, I mean, ART definitely lasts for 24 hours now lah. Okay, ultimately, right, this is about making sure your site is safe.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that.
Okay, so visitors who do ART on the spot, actually we have communicated this out before when we were deploying the ART to all our shipyards, is that visitors who do the ART on the spot, the results, the company SRS administrator can actually upload the visitors' details up via the SRS version 1, which is the Excel batch upload for them. And they will get an SMS from MOH stating their ART results in their phone. Okay, provided they have a valid local mobile phone. If they don't have a valid local mobile phone, then too bad. They need to key in one local mobile phone to receive the SMS. Okay, this is a limitation in our system now. Yeah, ART is on 29. Sorry, RRT is on 29.
ART is on the 1st.
Yes. Ultimately, actually for us, the marine shipyards or marine workers, there has minimum impact when we are converting over to FET, because right now we are already doing one test every 3 or 4 days. Okay, either one ART or one PCR. So ultimately for us, we're just it's actually easier right now. Just every 3 days, you just need to remember every 3 days just need to do an ART. Yep, and FW Mum Care, no problem. They reminded. The only hassle is the SCPR where the company need to set the date to remember. So now these days we have all our mobile phones with the calendar, right? Just need to trigger repeat every 3 days to do ART. Then that's good enough. Okay. Yeah. How long should we within the day? The ART result should be uploaded immediately after the ART operation is over. I didn't say ART test is over. ART operations is over, which means once the company collected all the results, they can upload the SRS portal. Now, the thing is this, the problem is the contractors. So the company SMO must hold the contractor's SMO very tightly. The company SMO must make sure the contractor's SMO upload to SRS timely within the day. So far, we have observed some of the ART results by the contractors for those large sites. The contractors upload them like or inform the company 1 day later. So this is something where the companies need to know. If you all know, if your contractors report to you 1 day late, you are 1 day exposed. So it's up to the company right now, whether you want to accept that the what do you call it, the risk level or not. Okay. Can we fix every Monday or Friday? I think the SCPR has the flexibility, but migrant worker no flexibility because it's all IT based. So the FW mom care, every 3 days we have a reminder. They don't do it, access code rate. Then after that, they can't even come to your site. Okay, so just take note of that. SCPR has that flexibility in a sense. Okay, but I will suggest not do Monday and Friday. I will suggest Tuesday and Friday instead. You set a 3 days apart because Monday and Friday is theoretically quite close. I rather do Tuesday and Friday. Okay, I mean, it doesn't matter anyway. I understand why Monday also, because over the weekend they go out jalan-jalan, after come back must test it because the community cases are still high, right? So one way is Monday or Thursday. Then you set them out for the weekend. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Okay. Ship coming into a rest, we are the okay. So for the ART, that's why I put in a chat box saying that we are now we're getting approval, right? The ART results done by the crew. Some of the crew don't know how to do ART because some of them may not have done it before. So preferably, it is something where the HCI who is doing the PCR is able to supervise them virtually. You get what I mean? So, and then therefore the last three ART, day 3, day 7, day 10, is actually day 3, 7, 10 ART is supervised by the MSP, if possible, virtually. They don't have to come down. Then you don't have to incur that mobilization charge of the HCI coming into the shipyard and all those. Okay. Right now, the ART kits should be provided by HCI, right? So my thinking is that, which we will roll out in the comms, is that day 1, when the HCI boards the vessel to do the PCR, on arrival PCR, they can supply them with the 3 ART kits or 3 ART kits per crew, and then maybe give them another few more spare because some kits may be invalid, right? What we don't want is that later on scramble for ART kits. And thereafter, once the ART is done, they write the last 4 characters of their passport number with the date of test. Okay, take a photo with their passport and then send it to the shipyard SMO for results collation. But practically, is it a shipyard SMOs or is it a shipping agent SMO? Shipping agent to collect or not? Ultimately, all these results are needed, and touch wood, anything happen, Port Health will need to have all these results any case. So you all must make it available. Okay, so that's something which I just want to share. Okay, I have employees test positive for PCR. They contacted for. Are you talking about put positive? If it's a put positive, we have actually clarified with MOH, and they can actually adopt the protocol 2, which means those who are P positive, put positive right now, and have yet to be contacted for reswap, adopt a protocol 2, immediately do a ART. If ART negative, they are free to continue working. If it's ART positive, they continue the rest of the protocol 2, which means isolate for 3 days. Day 4, do a ART. If it's negative, free to roam, free to go anywhere. If it's still positive, retake the test every 24 hours apart until AG negative. Okay, so I hope that helps. ART result, can you accept with photo taken and must be a live video? No need. Okay. So for SCPR, even the ART results is sent to the company SRS administrator to be uploaded into the SRS. Okay, the photo records is kept by the company SRS administrator, as because our team, EDB's team, will be going down, and we will do in the transition phase. We will, in this transition period, we will go down, and then we will work with you to understand what are the challenges in transiting to the FET only regime, because all these photo records is like temperature records we kept for 28 days, right? This is just in case if any of these things happen along the way, they're tested positive, at least you have records to show that the workers have all these ART done. Okay, so I hope that happens. No need video. If you want to keep video, it's up to you. But video takes up a lot of memory space. Okay. If the staff are working, are they required? I think it's repetitive, right? So as long as they are not coming out of their home, by right, don't need to do ART lah. Okay. Same goes for like protocol 3, right? They're supposed to do a daily ART for 7 days. If they're not coming out, theoretically, they don't have to do ART at all. Okay, for non-dom workers self-tested before, is the employer obliged to? I mean, we talk about only supervised ART results to be uploaded. If they do on their own, this is recorded, right? Is this recorded? If this is recorded, yes, then I cannot say anything. So I can only say what is the by law one. By law, it's employer supervised self-swab by a trained supervisor. Okay? The photo records of the ART kits, the last 4 characters with date of test with the FIN NRIC passport taken together, is a form of record to show people that the person has done it. Okay, I cannot say anything else already. Okay,
okay, thank you, Kunwin.
Yeah, do we still need to continue to upload for this new? Yes. You still upload the ART results because you need to help employee, right? When you upload the SRS administrator portal, at least the employee has the SMS from MOH stating which are the test date they have done. So they have additional SMS beyond just their health hub. Sometimes if the health hub is not updated, they at least got the SMS to show that they are AG negative. Okay. If FW Mum Care is also supposed to upload and is supposed to be linked to SRS, and then after it can record, right? So if they are not, okay, so for this, own employees will be mostly, I would say, for the non-migrant worker, because the migrant worker, they're supposed to use the FW Mum Care to upload, and then thereafter which, right, it should link to the MOH COVID management backbone, which will then upload into SRS, and thereafter which we have a form of result. But you know, in this in all tech, we always try to have a backup because you never know whether things will be missing or not. Okay, I mean, for me, because I still trust 1G. So for me, okay, we still need backup. Okay, can. Some of workers from first of May we're planning. Yeah, so for the worker working 7 days weekly, you're doing 7 days a week. Firstly, you all shouldn't be typing all these things because this is a violation of Employment Act. Even shift workers are supposed to have at least minimally 24 hours rest. I hope you are not working 7 full days. Yeah. So whoever is doing that, I hope that you all give your workers rest. But in any case, just do an ART test every 3 days. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, the only one that is exempted from Employment Act of working 7 days are port facility workers, as far as I know, those who are in the ports. Okay, so to all our employees on every Monday, Thursday, will it be fulfilling the new 3-day? As I mentioned, the migrant worker, there's a dynamic logic, scheduling logic. Every 3 days, they will have to do an ART, which means if it ends on a weekend, they will do an ART also. Okay, potentially it will happen. For your all other employees, the SCPR, there is certain flexibility because it's not automated. Okay, and that is where you have every right. I mean, your company can plan it that way lah. Okay, just take note that if it's employer supervised self-swab and on-site, every 200 workers on site, 200 workers will take about 1 hour 45 minutes to 2 hours. If it's virtually, you just ask your supervisor who are trained to do a WhatsApp call, which can go up to 8 person in a WhatsApp call. You can do it much faster lah. Okay, can? Well, ART, it need not be in morning. It can be any time of the day because, as I mentioned, right, is the result is valid for 24 hours. As we are doing regularly, it doesn't matter at all. Okay, if you are not doing regularly, then it is better that before they enter the site, they have an AG negative. Just like the visitors and the roving contractors who are coming into your site, you do not know them, then you scan them in. At least you have a assurance that they have done it within the last 24 hours. Okay. Yeah. So I mentioned about whether can ART at home. Yes, you can, as long as it's supervised, and then you keep the photo records as we mentioned. Okay. Access code will be read if AG positive. Yes, this one from 1st November onwards, access code will be based on ART swap. But if they turn, if they are C+, as far as I know, if they are C+, because they are symptomatic AG positive, they will go for the confirmatory swab test for PCR, confirmatory PCR, and then they should turn red or green accordingly lah. So like as usual, how the access code, there's I think about 12 hours or so lag lah. 12 hours or so lag. Okay. Okay, for offshore who access tugboat, we need to check ART results last 3 days or last 24 hours. Okay, so for maritime workers, they are also on every 3 days ART. So for this, if they are regularly tested, I think there's not really issue. What we are really concerned of is people who are not regularly tested. Okay, so for anybody who is on the need to access the tugboat, just make sure they are regularly tested. If they are not tested at least twice in the last week or so, last 7 days or so, then you should be worried lah. Then you will ask them to have a valid ART result in the last 24 hours before boarding. Ultimately, right, the companies now need to assess your own risk, what you can take, what you cannot, what you can accept, what you cannot accept, and then determine it from protecting your own worksite and impose your own precautionary measures. Okay. Okay, if I'm entering a shipyard, should I do ART when I'm on a second day? Sorry, should I do new ART when I'm on second day? Ultimately, you're entering a shipyard or port as long as you can show that for migrant worker is not an issue because they will show the access code. They will determine whether the access code green or red based on their registered. So if they are registered with the marine worker or the border facing workers, they will be scheduled every 3 days. If they are inward facing, like the process construction, the construction site ones, they will be scheduled at ART every 7 days, and their access code will be changed accordingly. For SCPR, they will have you at the health hub. You need to look through their ART results to have that deduction whether they are on RRT or not. Okay, so that's for SCPR. Okay, for those on PCR and assigned subcenter were inconvenient. If you want to start the ART every 3 days, if you have enough ART kits, it's self-funded, you can carry on. But just let us know so that we have records of which are the companies who want to embark on the 3 days FET right now. And at least we can align this with HPB, and then we will manage it accordingly. Okay, so Don, it's good that you want to do a ART immediately. Just concerned that whether you have enough ART kits or not. Okay, okay. Maya is waterfront. We are inspired come on board like survey. So the question will be related to. So do we have to check ARTs? Okay, so the inspectors that are coming, they're going on board ship. They should adhere to the respective PMC, which requires them to have to be on a 7-day PCR plus day 3 ART for now. So they should be converted to a 3-day FETRRT from 1st November onwards. I hope that helps. Okay, so the schedule on Monday, Thursday, I think the one I answered before already. So, so I don't need to reply.
Yes, correct. Yeah. This one on the MC?
MC, same thing. So for MC, they are MC on the day 3. If they don't do it, not on the day 3 itself, you do it as soon as possible within the next day or so. Okay. If there are multiple days of MC and they're not coming to work, then if the access code turn red, right, this is something which we need to flag up. It's the same thing like a PCR. If the person has missed that PCR test for some days, the access code will turn red, right? So we just need to flag out to MOM to justify how the test is being done to turn it to green. Yeah. For the non-dom worker, I think this is again quite similar. As I mentioned, migrant worker, they are given as a dynamic scheduling. Every 3 days need to do an ART. For the SCPR, you just arrange 2 tests in a week. Okay. ART on your own and all those. I think this ESSS virtual protocol, the EDB has circulated. That will be the way to go, and then all the answers will be answered there. All right. Okay. Okay, office staff, we have never, so admin workers, back-end workers who are not on the current VORT or PCR, ART, RRT, there's actually no test. So unless the shipyard wants to test their office worker on a regular basis, then they are okay to do so. Okay, so yeah. AG plus, how to go out? At the end of the day, AG plus all need to stay home. So cannot go out until AG negative. So wait until AG negative, then go and do the booster vaccination. Yeah. RRT test, I think you're talking about PCR or ART. So this is something where firstly, you don't do 2 tests in a day. If you are doing if the day you are doing right now is a PCR, the person shouldn't do a ART on the morning itself or before the PCR has been done. It's a waste of resources. Yeah, okay. We have situation, my worker test, then when test again, test positive, which result? Of course, you take the latest result as the governing result. Okay, so which means that will be positive. If it's a PCR positive, then you have to take the PCR positive. Even more because they are the gold standard, right? ART is yeah. Okay, Monday. I mean, right now we are going to move into a FET RRT only from 1st November onwards. So during this period of time, whatever is being scheduled, just adhere to that first. Okay, and whether is it Monday or Friday ART, I think I've actually mentioned just now. Preferably you space it out apart, so it's either Monday or Thursday or Tuesday or Friday will be better. Okay, so from 1st November, do we manually cancel? I believe HPB will cancel all your RRT from, not from 1st November, but after the first week of November. Because the first week of November is still allowed for companies who have not been able to transit to FET RRT smoothly. We give this 1 week's duration. Yeah. Okay, later on we'll go to the chat group again, because I mean the chat box, but some chat box answer is not answered.
So we plotted some of the questions over here as well.
Okay, great.
So you addressed them already.
Okay. So what's the difference between ESSS and DOM residents? So basically, end of the day, they're all supervised. The DOM residents, they are supervised by appointed DOM room ICs or appointed personnel to do the swab. And for them, they will have to take they are still taking photo records of their results. They will need to scan, the supervisor will need to provide the QR code for the migrant worker to scan before uploading it into the FW Mum Care. So the supervisor will make sure that the DOM worker has done the ART properly. Then for employer supervised for the non-DOM workers and the SCPR, Of course, then you need to do the virtual protocol, which is do a video call with them and have the photo and see that they do it lah. Okay, and then after that get the photo records for your own records purposes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have standardized with aligned with MOM. Migrant worker upload via FW Mum Care. SRS is for non-migrant workers, so typically are SCPR. Hence, but the non-dom worker is something where you can consider uploading the SRS for them, because for the dom workers they are quite, they are very structured. So for the non-dom workers, this is something where if they have appointed supervisor with the QR code, they can upload. But I will recommend that the company upload for them lah. Better lah for non-dom workers. Better that way. You know what I mean, You know why it's better, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think this question came out again, Kunwe, sorry.
Last 3 days. 10 or more C+ case and 5 or more work zones are always based on a consecutive 3 days. Okay, so 3 days.
Ken, I appreciate this a lot, Kunwe. Thank you so much for addressing all the questions. The questions keep on coming. So I think first and foremost, I want to share, we like to share that EDB has just launched this page as well, right? For them to first appreciate and learn or update themselves with the advisories. So that's how they can educate themselves with the recent changes. I'm assuming today's presentation is also already up here as well. And
yes, that's on the 12th of October.
Yeah, here. Yep. Correct.
The second one.
Yep, yeah. Here. It's already here. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Members can actually help themselves to the information and try to find the answers there. Alternatively, there's an email address for them to actually reach out to you guys as well. I'm clarifying, is it the swap or the CCO email address?
Which is swap related, which is FET related, sent to swap@edb.gov.sg. If it's with regards to the healthcare protocols, you can write to the CCO@edb.gov.sg, because the swap one has already been known in the industry to, for swap related matters, whereas the CCO is related for the IRMP or RAM matters. Okay.
Thanks.
There is one question at the chat box, which is we got cases that workers did ART at DOM, which is negative, but when we did the ART at site is positive. What should we do? Then you treat them as AG positive, and then you implement protocol 2. After that, do a AAR, after action review, with the DOM operator and ask them how did they make sure that the ART of the DOM worker is negative lah. Okay. Hence, therefore, I'm trying to highlight is that this ART operation, while is more flexible to companies, a lot of owners is pushed to the site occupiers and companies and the contractors, the employers, to make sure that the workers do the ART properly. Within the day, the ART result shouldn't change one. But within the day itself, that means do in the morning or do in the afternoon, the results shouldn't change much. But if you do another day, the results can change. Because right now, remember the Delta variant, the mean incubation period is 4 days or less, right? So within the first few days, the viral load should spike fast.
Ken. All right, we appreciate that. We actually have just made it past 5. Thank you so much, Kunwe and team, for that presentation, especially the question and answer section. I think it's quite very detailed. Answering questions could be very tiring as well, so I really appreciate that. Actually, we have come to the end. We will share this recording as well on our YouTube page for members to actually access them, so that they can go through this question, especially the question and answer section, so that they can go through the questions again. So once again, thank you so much, Kunwe and team, for your presentation today, as well as the Q&A. So before we actually leave, we'd like to thank our partners from JTC, STEAMS, SMF, and SSA for sharing today's webinar. And actually, I shared the website for everyone. We will share it in the link as well as a follow-up to our members as well. Yep. So with that, thank you so much, EDB team. Thank you so much, all participants, for joining us today in our joint webinar with the Singapore Economic Development Board. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you guys around and stay safe. Thank you.